Did you need this back
Yeah.
for anything?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
So when you come in, we can just
So your background, you got your
yeah, we live.
up there. You got-
Hey, well, listen, go ahead on the tag and share. We are live. Yeah, we are live. We are live right here in the county of Gadsden at Gadsden High. And listen, I'm with none other than my good friend and brother, Bishop Ty Smith. Man, how are you?
Man, I am phenomenal, loving life, seeing things happen in a good way for all those who are trying.
Absolutely. Hey, well, listen, for those of you who are joining in and those of you who are listening throughout the region, listen, I am at the Gadsden County High School, and we are about to begin a conversation that I feel like is much needed throughout. And certainly we are excited to have with us the principal of this amazing high school who has such an amazing vision. Want to say good afternoon to Principal Balls. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm wonderful. I am wonderful. And to all of you who are tuned in today, go ahead on the tag and share. Let's get ready to have something that I feel like is so meaningful when it comes to education, when it comes to empowerment, and when it comes to enrichment. And we're going to be talking about a call for fathers, but not only that, we're going to be talking about how important it is for this event that is happening. And for all of you who have a young man that's in the Gadsden County area, you need to, once you finish this broadcast, get them out to what we're going to be talking about. So let's begin this conversation by, first of all, I want to say congratulations for, being here. And, from what I've been told, man, it's a different atmosphere.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So how does it feel?
It feels good. I'm a very purpose-driven individual, and it brings me happiness to set my mind to something and push until it's complete. And so that's what I'm in the process of right now, is pushing this mission of making the school a more suitable setting for children to learn in. And so far, we've seen some drastic changes that are contributing to what I set out to do.
Wonderful.
So I'm excited about that.
Wonderful. Well, Bishop Child, let me ask you this, man, because you are really engaged in our community. And one of the things that I know is that ministry outside of the walls of the church means so much when you could tap into the marketplace. And I just believe that, we've gotten this mindset of church and state separation. But how important is it for ministries to be engaged in what I feel like is a vision that is being driven by this principle that is much needed, because fathers, men are absent? How important is that?
Oh, it is extremely important. I'm one of those people, you know me, I'm going to keep it 100. My son got into a little altercation some weeks back, and Principal Ball was on the forefront to be able to say, hey, he had to make a decision. In doing so, I asked, could I meet with him?
Wonderful.
And in meeting with Principal Ball, it was amazing because we gathered in a room, and it was a room full of men. 100%.
Wait, I got to stop you, because something you just said, I think, has really kind of like caused my antennas to go up. Your son got in trouble. You just didn't let him come home.
Right.
You wanted to meet.
Absolutely.
Because you wanted to get to the root.
Absolutely.
And I want to go back to you, but how important is it for fathers and parents to do what he just did?
It makes a world of difference. We were able to not only address the issue, come up with a compromise in the consequence. And I believe that we changed his son's life with that conversation, that all man conversation that we had, because I'm sure he heard some things that nobody his age could ever share with him, because we were speaking from our experiences dealing with young ladies. And so I think it was a life-changing conversation for him. And I was glad that Pastor was there. And that's how we met, actually.
Wonderful. Yeah. So now I wanted to interject that, because we've got thousands of people who are listening to us, and this conversation is so imperative. And I think, Pastor, you said something that was key. when that happened, you didn't want to hear what your son said. You wanted to meet with the principal. Why was that important for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The first ministry is home.
Wow.
First ministry is home. And so to answer your question, like how vital it is, well, at the end of the day, I can't save and work to save other people's children and families and men incarcerated and things of that nature. And I'm not saving home.
Wow.
And so saving home comes with instructions. So the reality is my son plays football here, and my thing is like, hey, I don't care how good you are on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to be good as a man.
Mm-hmm.
My son has 1 year left in high school. He's a junior now. Next year is his senior year. And we are in operation preparation for his manhood.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, the thing I example most is, and that's another thing in ministry. Ministry is about example, not just instruction. And so exempling, how do we resolve conflict? You follow?
Wow.
And you resolve conflict by men coming together, having the conversation. And I'm going to tell you, Principal Ball won me over as a parent. Hear this now. He won me over as a parent, the way he addressed my son, the way he addressed the conversation. But the resounding resolve was, he says, you have a father.
Mm.
That hit my son in a way. You got it. So yes, he received the information about the altercation, everything that was involved. But he said, you have a father. And what makes this entire situation different is you have an involved father. And so as a result, it gave over to a partnership. And that's what I really love. What the enemy meant for bad.
So wow, I mean, man, I'm sitting here, and for those of you who are listening, go ahead on and tag, share, and let's get others involved, because there's so many principals who have inboxed me based on what you have launched. Dads and Donuts, a call for fathers. There have been other principals who are males who have DM'd me to say, is this a program? What is this that is happening that we need to model? And so here it is. You met, and he said to your son, you have a father. As a principal, and we can talk from the ministry side, as a principal, when we look at our school system, most of the families are single parent, and there's a father that's missing. How difficult is that?
It's very difficult. And I think the reason why we connected so much on me telling his son, you have your father, is because he felt it the way I felt it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't have his father.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have my father.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, I was saying to his son, I expect so much more from you.
Right.
Because you actually have your father. So you don't have to navigate life on your own. Not entirely on your own, but a woman can only teach you so much. At the end of the day, a boy has to have a way to self-actualize through the example of a man. And if he does not have that, then it creates so much confusion, because then he's got to navigate to figure out, who am I as a man? And the reality is, a woman cannot tell you who you are as a man. She can't teach you who you are as a man. It takes time and experience and all of those things. So having fathers like Pastor really helps me, because we are able to tackle things from a different angle that I normally can't take those angles, because there are so many absent fathers. And so two things, I want to establish a council of fathers, which I've been marketing on social media. And I also wanted to kind of launch it by having the Donuts for Dads, which I've done at other schools too. But this time it's different, because this time I'm in a community where it's predominantly Black. And I think it'll be a lot easier for me to engage the dads and have this council of fathers than it has been in previous locations that I've worked in. So I'm hoping that Donuts for Dads leads into a council of fathers that is very active, and we meet monthly, and they give input, and we solve problems together as a village.
Wow. One of the things that I like to input, and I'm going to ask you, Bishop, to kind of elaborate, and Principal Balls, you can come back. When we look at, when I saw and started researching the importance of fathers being on campus. I've seen so many programs on a national level that had dads on campus, and how, especially in New Orleans, there's a program that have dads on campus, and how that has really impacted the lives of the students. You both said something that I didn't even know. One, you said your father was missing. I didn't even know your father was missing.
Yeah.
So I guess when you recognize the absence of a father, and you recognize that you're talking to a student who has a father, then there must be a ministry place that draws fathers in to be there for children on this campus who don't have a father. So as a pastor saying that, hey, that meeting, he won me over.
Right.
What do you feel like your responsibility is now to other faith leaders when it comes to this vision, this initiative? I want to say a mandate that has been placed on this principal's life.
Oh, that was the number one thing to respond, in order to say, like, wait, I thank God for the grace that my son received in the situation. It could have went totally different. And so it put an onus on not only me as a father, but me as a leader, to say how many other situations would have gone differently had fathers been involved.
Wow.
How many other situations? And so when we think about, hey, we saw the football debacle this summer, right? Well, Principal Ball was just arriving.
Yeah.
You got it. And a way to welcome yourself to a community that says, hey, the only football team, this is the only public high school in Gadsden County. And our only football team that went to the state championship last year is now, right before this season opened, being, reprimanded for some paperwork issues or whatever the case may be, right? So at the end of the day, how could that have gone differently had fathers been involved? So when it comes down to our mandate as a community, as ministries from the ministerial side, Jesus said something. He says, who is my mother, my sisters, or my brothers? I'm going to throw in earthly fathers, right? Who are those relatives? It's whoever does the will of the Father. So at the end of the day, it's not just God's will for me to take care of my house and my son. It's his will for us to take care of others who don't have that. So whether you're a grandfather, an uncle, or a pastor who you are a spiritual father within the residence of your church and your community, are you operating as that father? Let me give you something real quick, and I'll pass it over to Principal Ball. So my biological father, I could write a book about my biological father's absence, right? So I thank God for my stepdad, who was everything to me, right? He ended up adopting me at age 17, right? But the trauma that I received from the absence of my biological father being in my life, it ran all the way up to the present day.
Wow.
Now check this though. From that trauma, it birthed in me the father that I am. Maybe not the best father, but because my biological father was absent, it birthed in me the intentionality to make sure I was going to be there. So it changed how I dated. It changed my marriage. It changed everything, because from my space, I still have questions of why my biological father didn't receive.
Wow.
You follow? So, and got a chance to meet him after, right? But I'm gonna give you this one right here and pass it. The day right before my biological father died, I was still trying to get access to it.
And I felt that in the Holy Ghost.
I was still trying. I was 37, 38 years old.
Still trying to get access. Now, can I stop right there? And come to you? How many are listening now that are living with the absence of a father? How many are listening now that have had anguish and that have gone through your own personal abuse mentally because a father has been absent. Well, today, healing, God, we at the school, but I feel this. Healing is coming to you. I just want to say that because you said something that was key. And to see where you are now, principal, leading a school, leading staff with the absence of a father, but yet making a call to a community that is predominantly African American, predominantly one of the most highest in the crime statistic, predominantly Black, predominantly one of the most cities that has a lot of poverty. But you're making a call to say, fathers, can you help me? Why is that important? I mean, I have to go back to it because you could be doing so many other things that is going to help move the schools forward, and taking time to have donuts with the staff, or taking time to have donuts with your leadership team. But you're calling for the community to say, hey, I want to have donuts with dads, and I want to form a council.
I've seen countless times how powerful the involvement of a father can be. And so I would be wrong to not try to call fathers to the table in a community like this. I know that men have a different effect on children than women do. Both impacts are needed. However, it's the father side that's often missing. So I want to do everything I can to try to involve as many fathers as possible, because I know it'll help me do what I'm trying to do, which is to create a real learning environment here where it's civilized and kids can actually come here to learn. I want to make this an institution of higher learning. So fathers can help me do that.
And overseer, if I could throw this in, I just heard this. Mothers teach us how to feel. Fathers teach us how to think. In the dynamics of the family perspective, in most cases, mothers speak from and kind of operate from how they feel at the time. If mama's happy, you got it. If mama's sad, if mama's frustrated, whatever, right? It sets the tone in the house. But so many times within my own house, mom can be feeling some way, and I'm like, hey, come here. You got that balance to say, hey, I get how you're feeling, but think about what this is going to do. Right. And that's what our communities are missing, the ability to properly think, because we haven't been taught how to think.
And boys have to see examples of how does a man channel his emotions into strategy rather than irrational behavior. And a lot of our boys don't see that. They don't get that example. I was blessed enough to see some examples of that, even though I didn't have my father. And so I'm always trying to teach the boys, in particular, you can't just crash out. You can't say the same things that a woman may say when she gets mad. You can't behave the same way. Sometimes I even go in depth about how people perceive you getting mad differently than they perceive a woman getting mad.
Wow.
You can't curse out somebody and it be perceived the same way. They're just differences, and those things have to be taught. And so, it's just little invaluable, sentimental lessons like that need to be taught. And a lot of times, the only people they can get it from is a man or a father. So I hope that we can come together and do some great things with this council of fathers that I'm trying to create. So I'm looking forward to Donuts for Dads tomorrow, and I hope to see a whole lot of people there.
Okay.
A whole lot of people.
Hey, well, listen, I think you all said something that I want to touch on, because when we look at research, when we look at the Department of Justice research, and when we look at it when it comes to higher incarceration rates, it states that children that are raised without fathers, listen to this, are more likely to be incarcerated than those that are coming from a two-parent home. And children that are, I was in Mr. Hobbs' class today talking about this. Children that are without fathers are more likely to embrace gangs. Now, in small cities like we're in, I don't want to, like I said today, I don't want to say that they really understand gangs. That I want to say they understand clubs, but they want to say we got this gang and that gang of Gretna and all that. But at the end of the day, how do we stop that narrative? Because children without fathers, they're looking for someone to steer them in the direction, a father figure. So in the streets, they find themselves embraced in these so-called gangs.
Yeah.
How do we break that?
I can definitely relate. When I was a boy, I definitely looked to the older boys as an example.
Wow, good or bad?
Good or bad.
And it was more bad than good.
Yeah, definitely more bad than good. Because when you don't have your father, that's what you do. You look to the older males around you as an example of manhood. There's a term in psychology, I believe, it's called proximal development. And what it means is that the younger look to the older, more capable children as to how to behave. They look at the behavior that's modeled, and then they resemble that behavior. So when I saw the violence that we had in this community not too long ago, maybe a week or two ago,
Absolutely.
where the young man who plays for Florida State
Absolutely.
was shot and is critically injured. And I said to myself right then, boys who have grown male bodies, but the emotions of a 5-year-old girl, it'll always lead to this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Because they can't control themselves. They get mad about something. The first thing they want to do is go and do violence, something violent, grab a gun, grab a knife, or whatever. And the only way to change that cycle of violence is for fathers to teach emotional intelligence to their sons. Otherwise, they will be an adult male physically, but a 5-year-old girl emotionally.
Wow.
And that never makes for a good combination.
So I got to stick a pin in something you said, because, oh God, emotionally, they cannot really comprehend, so they're acting out. And Bishop, I may be putting you on the spot. I'm a pastor, you're a pastor. Our churches are they're limited when it comes to the male presence.
Absolutely.
Because males feel like church is not for them emotionally, that thinking process.
I can relate.
You can relate.
I can relate.
Okay. But yet the role models that these boys who are absent of fathers look for are role models that are not conducive to positive outcomes. As we reflect on what happened 3 weeks ago, we can see that this was a situation where these gentlemen were young, and many of them were out of school, and many of them hadn't even graduated from school. On the church front, Bishop, how do we get men to see how valuable they are?
Oh my. I'm like, you really want to open this one up right here? Right?
Because if here it is now,
Right.
and the reason I said
spot on.
we have concluded in your conversation that the greatest model to demonstrate my fatherhood is in the home.
Absolutely.
So when I leave the church, then the next home should be the place of the educational realm. Because if we don't get them to see it here, then the correction side is going to get it.
Absolutely. So here's what we're dealing with basically in the church, in the school, in our community, right? If you go to scripture, many times the Bible says, Old Testament says, the sins of the fathers will revisit their children to the 3rd and 4th generation.
Absolutely.
Right. So what's going on is we're seeing the outcome of 3 and 4 generations ago. The actions that were committed 3 and 4 generations ago. That's what we're living in. So when you look at men in the church, it's not that men don't come to church because of just the emotional intelligence of it or the emotionalism found in it. Men don't come to church because church don't work. Wow. When you think about men are solution oriented. Any man and a woman in a relationship, the woman venting her problems, he's getting straight to what's the answer? What's the resolve? How do we get you back to being emotionally healthy? right? Whereas the woman wants to feel it and experience it and all that. So when you talk about emotionalism versus being solution oriented, many churches have endorsed the emotional part. This is why we pay our musicians and bands more than pastors many times.
Absolutely.
You got it, because they serve for the emotional side of it versus the intellectual side of it when it comes down to actually structuring and presenting information in a way where we're not yelling, we're not screaming, we're not hooping and rolling in our voices, right? The cultural perspective of the old church that we're still kind of trying to do and operate in, but we're flat-footed, giving people real solutions for their today problems. So many of our men are saying, why should I either take one of my only days to rest?
Yes.
Right?
It's good, Doc.
Or why should I lose money where I could be making money to go sit inside and watch a whole bunch of people jump around, scream, be emotional, and nothing changed for them?
Nothing.
Wow. So I man, listen, you said something. I got one of our online listeners who says the church can gather men when the church addresses manly issues.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
You agree?
Absolutely.
So if we're trying, oh my God, this is going to help us now.
Mm-hmm.
We got a principal
Mm-hmm.
who is hoping and praying that he can gather men to come to the Gadsden High educational complex to help be a presence to detour what he's seeing. And we got a church that is saying they're not coming. So the question now is, how do we marry the two so that men can be involved in both?
When you go to a good restaurant,
Come on.
nobody has to tell you to go back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because it's something there that you're attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
Men aren't going to church because there's nothing there that attracts us.
Mm-hmm.
If there was something there that attracts us, you wouldn't have to encourage us at all. You don't have to encourage us to go to the club.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to encourage us to go to a football game or to sit down and watch football.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be something in there that solves problems that we're attracted to.
Okay, now I gotta say this principle. So we see the problems that we're having on our campuses. And I'm not just speaking of this camp, I'm talking about campuses in general.
Nationwide.
Nationwide, we see that there's a lot of, just over in the Leon County, I was in several meetings and I made some points that probably made people a little bit uptight.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to speak truth to power to
Absolutely.
just challenge the consciousness of people.
Mm-hmm.
So we see that guns are being brought on campuses. We see that there are numerous of fights that is taking place on campuses. And these are problems that obviously it takes more than a staff of those who are employed by a system to solve.
Correct.
These are so that means I've got to figure out, how do I bring solution to the problem? Here's the problem that I have. Many of the men that I know that were once part of the problem can be solutions. But there are systems and there are so many requirements in place that cause a deterrence. I was in a class today with a lot of young boys in that class. And I told Mr. Hobbs, don't tell them my story. Let me give them all the accolades that the world has acclaimed that I've accomplished. I shared with them, I'm an author, radio broadcast. I've been to the White House. I worked under 2 administrations. I lobby, I advocate. I shared all of that. And then I said, would you believe I went to prison? The whole class got silent.
Mm-hmm.
And then guess what? They became more intensive to listen. More questions were raised. And at the end of the class, I said, I want to take 15 minutes. And I want you to write as many things that you have taken from what I've said that meant something to you. I only thought, listen to me, I only thought that I would reward one person with a $10 gift certificate. Because I said, I asked Mr. Hobbs, how many people in class? He said, about 30. I said, well, I probably get one person that'll pay attention to what I'm saying and right. I ended up having to go get 5 more gift cards because at least 6 students wrote over 15 items that they took away from my story, not from my accolades now. They ain't say nothing about the radio show.
Right.
They said, you grew up in a rough neighborhood, you went to prison, you was a part of a gang. Those are the things that resonate.
Well, and let me pin something that also hit me. As a community, we have to do a better job of identifying and distinguishing men from grown boys, males, right? So they're men, they are males. Get this, put your seatbelt on for this one. And then they're slaves.
Yeah.
The black man in society, in this community, is going to be a matured black man, right? Receiving a responsibility, understanding the importance of knowledge, and making calculated decisions to structure and build a reality for himself and others, right? A harmonious reality for himself and others. Or he's going to be a male, which essentially has been left with that 5-year-old girl emotional intelligence. You follow me? But he's now wondering, trying to figure out who's going to tolerate and put up with me. So essentially, no relationships work out. He always end up running back to his mama or anybody who will endorse his ignorance and stupidity, right? But then there is the slave. The slave is the black male or a man in our community who's identified that his only solution is going to work. He doesn't have time for anything else but going to work. So he doesn't educate himself anymore. He doesn't change his situation anymore. He doesn't consider his health. He just goes to work. How many people tomorrow will not be here at 7 but to go to work because they got to go to work? Wow. We got to deal with that.
So I want to say this to you and principal. I want you to chime in on this because this is your vision, and I think, and you can talk to me after I say this off the air, but I think your meeting with his son opened his eyes to say, I'm all in. Yeah. Because you said something to his son that made him realize you have a father. I didn't have one. And he recognized I didn't have one. But it takes someone who has an experience to say to someone who's experiencing something that they didn't experience, you don't even know how blessed you are.
Right.
To the men who are listening, we're having conversation to challenge your consciousness, to say, meet us here. What time? Tell them about
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Tomorrow morning, September 18th, 7 a.m. in the cafeteria. We're having donuts for all the dads in the communities. Grandfathers, you're welcome too. Uncles, you're welcome. Anybody who plays a father figure role. Moms, I'm sorry, but it's just a dad's event only. And we're going to have donuts. We're going to have some conversation. It'll be a good time. And I'm hoping that it's the start of an ongoing relationship.
Now let me ask you this, principal, because in order to start this, you must have envisioned what it looks like as it progresses. I mean, I had life plus 40 years in prison, and I was telling guys I'm getting out, and they were like, man, you ain't getting out. I said, man, when I get out, I'm going to go on TV. I'm going to the White House. I'm going to be writing books. They're like, Greg, you're losing your mind. But I saw bigger than behind the fence. What's the ultimate goal of the beginning of Donuts and Dads on tomorrow?
My goal for this school is to have a village that supports it. And you can't have a village without the man.
Wow.
My goal is to eventually bring an IB program to this school. We have an engineering program already that I'm launching to get it off the ground. The law studies students that you talked to this morning, that was part of my vision.
Wow, it was amazing.
And that took my vision to see a teacher who was at another school. I saw his background. I met him. I talked to him several times. And then one day, God gave me the idea. He was teaching social studies over at another school. And God gave me the idea, hire him as a law studies teacher and then launch a law studies program. And that will steer kids in that direction to go to undergrad as a pre-law major and then eventually go to law school and then become an attorney.
Wow.
And then those same boys or girls can end up defending you, me, you, or your son or anybody else.
Right.
And it'll be because of a vision that God gave me to hire this person who was not even purposed for that at another school.
But
I repurposed him to fit a vision that God gave me. And now it's working out very well because you're not the only person to come.
But let me tell you,
We've had judges, lawyers, and everybody.
yeah,
else
you
who's
have.
come.
And let me share with
Amazing.
you this. Let me share this with you. I had a young student that I was talking to, and I said to them, so what is it that you want to do? They said, well, at first I thought I wanted to do plumbing, but now I think I want to be a lawyer.
Powerful.
So I had a student to tell me that
Mhm.
because I was in between classes.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I was amazed about is that when I looked on the board, I saw Department of Justice, Department of State, Department of Treasury, and I saw the outline of all of the branches of government.
Yeah.
And when I was able to tell my story with them and share with them that, in law, and while I was in prison, I had a life sentence, so I had to study the law. And because I became a certified paralegal, because of that, I'm able to advocate with attorneys. I'm able to advocate with judges, to do creative strategies to help. So I want to say, I appreciate your vision for that, because today I was able to see and hear the results of a kid who said, this legal studies has changed my mindset. So we're praying that donuts and dads.
All day.
Listen, if you got somebody, golly, I don't know how to say this. If you got somebody who is a father, grandfather, they need to be at Gadsden High tomorrow morning at 7:00. He ain't going to keep you all day. He's just going to keep you for about 35, 40 minutes.
7 to 8.
7 to 8. You need to encourage them to be here. Why? Because dads, fathers need to be present on these campuses.
And
Go ahead.
overseer, something else, man. Now let me deal with us, right? Pastors want people in their pews, but do pastors show up outside of the pews?
Woo! Can you say that again, man?
Yeah, pastors want people in their pews, but do they show up outside of the pews? 90% of the people who come to Life-Changing Faith, they met me outside.
Right.
They don't meet me at the altar. They meet me in places like the cafeteria. You follow me?
Yeah.
If I was going to go to church, I would go to your church.
Absolutely.
Wow.
This would be the first person that come to my mind because I met him in action, in purpose. And so therefore, that's the pastor I want to listen to.
What's it? You saw my heart first.
So here is the deal, man. This is amazing. This is powerful. I had a young lady to share something with me, and I'm going to read that right quick because this conversation is reaching thousands of people, and I'm getting messages like crazy. Said this can be an excellent program organized listen, she heard me talking about ex-felons, background clearance, training schedules can be critical.
Mhm.
And she says, dads dedicated to dependable and safeguards of our schools. Thank you so much for that comment.
Absolutely.
So what you are saying resonates.
Absolutely. And let me say it resonates so much that so much so that my son, right? So he plays for Gadsden High, right? He attends private school online. Right. Let me tell you why my son attends private school online. Not because, we can afford it so much, but it's because of what Principal Ball just said, which blew me away. My wife and I decided long ago that our job was to prepare our children to be adults, successful adults. Notice, we decided as parents that we didn't let the school decide. So we've never made the school responsible for our children's success.
Right.
So from studying our son and studying what type of person he is, our son is one, he loves to debate. He loves to debate, not from a disrespectful place. It's just in him to do. I'm a Christian apologist. I'm a defender of the gospel. So he's grown up seeing me say stuff like, don't let me tell you anything, make me prove it. So he has a cultural space and mentality for when there are things given to him, right? He simply wants to have understanding. Now, in the average public school, if my son questions an authority, it's automatically seen as disrespect, right? Well, he just told me that he's created a law program. Now, guess what? I want to say on air publicly. I'm driving. My son attends Liberty University Online Academy, right? Junior year, he's doing chemistry, Spanish, and all this stuff, right? He says to me on Monday, he's like, Dad, I've been thinking. He's like, I think I want to possibly go back to school on campus. Now, mind you, we got this whole track. He has workouts at 7 a.m. He has his classes. He comes back, does workouts again. That's all before football practice at 4 o'clock, right? So he has a schedule and discipline, right, that the average high schooler doesn't have. But because I don't want my son getting into it with adults who are assuming he's being disrespectful because they're not accustomed to certain cultures and certain kids, they kind of group all the children as, hey, this is how children are, when the reality is there are parents from all over the place moving to Gadsden, moving to Leon County into this area, and we have to start giving the respect to children and parents that they may not be of the assumed mentality.
Gotcha.
So because of programs like this, now the consideration is like, no, Gadsden High is a real option for my son.
And I think that in regards to what you're saying, because of the programs and because of the vision, I mean, listen to what you're saying now. We're making it clear that it's hard to get men in church, and you're calling for them to meet you here to fulfill a vision of fathers and dads on the campus, a council, because you know how important that is. Right. With your other schools trying to implement it, how was it?
It was a struggle. And to connect it back to what Pastor Ty said, enrollment is going down in public schools nationwide, and Gadsden is no exception to that. The decline in enrollment affects the funding, and the funding affects how many staff and personnel you can have on campus. And so those things affect the safety and security of the school. They also affect the instruction of the school. So having volunteers really helps me, and I've been successful at getting some volunteers here. My hope is that the Council of Dads will be another source of volunteers. I think that'll be an even more powerful source of volunteers. If I got dads in hallways,
right?
Can you imagine?
Oh, I can imagine.
If I got dads guest speaking in classrooms,
right,
like you did today, I mean, this place will be in a better condition than it's ever been before, with that type of supervision, that type of guidance, that type of love and affection. A lot of children, males and females, have never seen a man in the house getting up, going to work. Just something as simple as that. A lot of kids have never seen a man just sit and watch a football game in their homes.
Right.
A lot of them have never seen a positive example of manhood. And so I understand that. And so I sympathize with that. And so I do everything I can to try to be the best example I can be. But I also want to align myself with people like yourself, so that we can be an even more powerful force here. I hope to see one day fathers in each of my hallways, supervising, teaching kids, in the cafeteria, sitting with kids, talking. Sometimes just a conversation is enough to change a kid's life, coming from a man.
So let me ask this question, because this may help some. So I'm a father, not me, but this is for the father. I am a father, right? But I don't have kids at Gatson High. Am I welcome?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're welcome. Because just your life experience is enough to change a kid's life. Sometimes it takes for a net, like this conversation we had with his son. If somebody would have had that conversation with me
Right.
at 16, 17 years old, it would have been groundbreaking for me. Sometimes when I look back on things and decisions I made, I say to myself, man, I could have saved myself 15 years if somebody had told me this.
Wow.
Like if I had a law studies program at my high school, I'd probably be an attorney right now, more than likely, because that's always been something that I'm interested in. I just didn't have the courage and confidence to be able to say, I'm going to go to law school.
Right.
And sometimes I still battle with it now, saying to myself, oh, I'm almost 40. Am I too old? Should I go now? That kind of thing. But has somebody been instilling in me from a child, a teenager, man, go to law school. You can do this type of law. You can practice this. The exposure and the options are very powerful.
Absolutely.
And that's what you provide, whether you're a father to one of our kids here or not. You're still an example for them.
So really, listen, you don't have to be a father with children at the Gatson High School.
Right.
Just a father.
Right.
Because your presence on the campus, being a part of the council, is going to help the vision of Principal Balls come to pass. And when the vision comes to pass, that village that has been vicious and violent now becomes a village that has victory, because your voice now is sounding out in the village. So I want to challenge all of you that are online, that are listening, that you know someone who's a father, you know someone who's a grandfather. Tomorrow morning at Gatson High, 7 p.m. Join this principal who has a vision for the village.
Absolutely.
Listen, I'm in awe to hear his story, being that his father was absent, but at all of the schools he's been sounding the alarm for fathers to be present, because there are well over 500 students here.
Oh, it's 1,000.
Oh, it's 1,000. 1,000 students. Can you imagine, of that 1,000 students, how many students are without a father?
Absolutely.
Every time I ask the question of where's your father, there's always that moment of silence.
Wow.
That look in the eyes. Wow. That pause that says, that's a controversial question.
My God.
And not just here. It's been like that everywhere I've gone. I can ask, where's mama? No problem. She's at work.
She at work?
She at work.
At work.
She at
home.
I can ask, where's grandmama? Immediate answer. But every time I ask a child, where's your father? There's always that dramatic pause where they got to think for a second. Why are you asking that? What's the motive for you asking that? It should not be that way.
Right.
Me asking you before I call home saying, what's your father's number? Or where's your father? Who do you live with? Those should not be controversial questions. That's a sign, that's an indication that the village is broken.
Right.
And any village without men is always going to be broken.
Absolutely.
Isaiah 3:12. I don't want to quote it because I'm not a pastor, but I'm sure y'all know it. Isaiah 12, women and children rule over them and lead them into error. When you look at our communities, especially where it's violent, who's doing all the crime?
Yeah.
It ain't the old ladies.
Hey.
It's the young men not being held accountable by other men, preferably their fathers. They have unaccounted for time, and it leads to tragedies like the one we just had with the young man from Florida State.
Absolutely.
And and I'm gonna let you say this. It's so amazing that you said that, because I spent a lot of time in the juvenile courts, especially over here with Judge Garner, and that juvenile court is filled with young boys, and they are coming to court not with a dad, not with a mom, but with a grandparent. And they're coming to court not with one charge, but they're coming to court because they have accumulated at least 5 or more, and they're now facing another charge.
Mhm.
And they get a spank on the wrist, they go back into the community. And without that father figure, their role model, who they look up to, is encouraging them not to do something positive, but to engage in more criminal activities until one young man that I know specifically that I was trying to deal with, and kind of like for a period of space, I kind of got busy and wasn't able to follow up with him. The next thing I know, he was being direct foul. And for those of you who don't know what direct foul means,
Wow.
it means that he's a juvenile, but he's now going to be charged as an adult. And more than likely, that charge is going to have a sentence that's going to be severe. And what's the severity of that sentence? It's going to be life. So here are kids
Right.
that are without a father.
Mhm.
And just as you stated, when you ask, where's your father? It's like there's that silent moment.
Absolutely.
Don't want to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Did you want to talk about it when you were a kid?
Yeah, well, nobody ever asked me. Even to this day, nobody ever asked me.
Wow.
Did you want to talk about it?
Nah, I mean, because it was ever on my mind. It was ever on. So every time somebody said anything about a biological father, or when I saw sometimes my uncles interacting with their children, my mind would rush to, I've never had that. Don't know what it means to hear my father say happy birthday or Merry Christmas.
Or good morning.
Right?
So, I mean, man, this has gotten good and we just
Yeah.
got a few minutes left, but
Yeah.
this is going to challenge you. So being without a father at a young age, did you find yourself doing things that you know you shouldn't have been doing, but because
Definitely.
the influence?
Definitely. I did a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing. Things that I knew my father, if he was present, wouldn't have allowed. And, my father in particular is not the typical story. Typically when you think of a father that's not present, you think of somebody that's probably kind of inadequate, somebody that's probably not very smart and all that. My father is brilliant. My father is the sharpest man I've ever met in my life. So it ain't that situation at all.
Right.
It wasn't like some of the kids these days where their father probably wouldn't be much of a help anyway,
Mhm.
in some cases. No, my father is brilliant. He's sharp. He could have been he could be a revolutionary leader,
But he wasn't in your life.
but he wasn't present.
Mhm.
So anytime I was around him, he was teaching me things, because I guess he felt like, well, I'm not going to be around a lot, so I have to teach you as much as I can.
Wow.
Plant those seeds, and then hopefully they'll grow somewhere else.
My God.
So let me ask you this: with the few minutes that we have left, I want to ask both of you all, and I certainly want to challenge our community that's listening to make sure that you encourage someone to meet Principal Balls out here at 7 a.m. for Dads and Donuts. His ultimate goal is to get fathers on this campus to create a council that is going to help the village become victorious.
I called a meeting for the council last week, I think it was, and only 2 guys showed up.
Oh, wow.
2.
Wow.
And I know it's more than that in this community.
Absolutely.
It's more than 2.
Yeah, only 2. And I appreciate the 2 that showed up,
Wow.
but we definitely want more, need more.
Want more,
2 guys.
need more.
Well, you
And-
got 3 now.
You got 3.
Right?
Yes, sir.
You
So
feel
let
me?
me say this with the time that I have remaining. What do you think was the turning point for you? You're sitting here now as a principal. You've been a principal. You're sitting here now as a community leader. You served on our school board, leading the church. You've done national seminars, workshops. What was the turning point for you?
I don't think there was one particular point. I think it's been a gradual transition over time. But I will say that when I was about maybe 18, I watched a movie, and I won't say what movie it is because I don't want all the critics. But I watched a movie, and it was a movie that I had seen 1,000 times in my life. But for whatever reason, at this point in my development, that movie hit me in a way that it had never hit me before. And from that point forward is when I noticed a change in the way I saw everything else and the way I saw myself, because I felt like this person in this movie was the epitome of what manhood should be.
Wow.
And from that point forward, that's when I noticed a change in myself altogether.
Wow.
But it's been a gradual process over time to try to make myself to reach my full potential. I want to be what God sent me here to be.
Right.
If nothing else, I don't care about nothing else. I don't care about the criticism and all that. Right. I have a purpose. We all have a purpose. God sends us into the earth for that purpose. Some of us get lost along the way. Right. My goal is to listen to the voice as much as I can so that I can do that purpose, so that when I'm gone, I can face God and not feel any type of self-conscious. I won't be self-conscious at all. I can say I did the best I could with the time you gave me.
Wow. Wow. That movie was the turning point.
Yeah.
Bishop, what was that turning point?
Right before I go into it, this hit me, I've been holding it, and that is boys become criminal minded when they have to live through consistent systems of injustice. And many times in households, they are seeing unanswered and unresolved injustice to the point that they learn that this is the world I'm living in and I must adopt to this injustice. And they leave outside of their house and they participate in the injustice that they have saw exercised upon them in many cases. The changing point in my life, I lie to you not, was seeing my mother, believe it or not. I had stepdad. My stepdad was that worker. He worked and worked and worked, right? Didn't no interaction, rare interaction with me as being a father. And so that's another thing. And you can be an absent father and be at the address.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Wow. That's good.
So my mother, man, she was so solid in enforcing checks and balances. She was a strong woman of faith. So she didn't let me slide. You got it? She never let me slide. She always called me to the carpet. She knew what was in me. My father was a daggone scientist, PhD. You got it? And so she knew what was in me and she called it out of me. So I want to take this moment to say a woman's influence has made many of men fall, but have also aided them to success. And so there are women who are listening, probably more women than men right now who are listening. And I want to challenge you to use your influence. You can get him to buy you stuff for Valentine's Day. You can get him to buy you the house and put a ring on. Get him to show up at 7 a.m. and be a father to our community.
Wow. Hey, listen, this has been an amazing program. And I don't recall ever having a discussion like this where there's a call for fathers. I mean, I don't ever recall. And I've been doing this thing called radio for over 15 years.
Wow.
And I've been having shows upon shows. But to be able to sit down and talk to thousands upon listeners and to talk with two successful young men who know what it means to be in a situation where there's the absence of a father, but yet come together and make a clarion call for fathers to join them to help bring victory to the village is more than a mandate. I truly believe that it is a call to action whereby men, it's time for you to come out of hiding.
Absolutely.
And now come to the forefront. Certainly, Principal, I want to thank you so
Yes,
much,
sir.
man, for the
Thank you for
invitation.
having me.
And I thank you so much for what God is calling you to do
Yes, sir.
and not being afraid that, hey, God dropped this idea in my mind. And Bishop, always, man, thank you so much for being on the forefront, partnering and doing what you can to make the marketplace ministry make a difference. Hey, listen, this has been the Greg James Community Show. Y'all stay tuned, stay engaged, stay involved. There's a lot going on with the few minutes that I have left. Get ready. It's election season. Man, I got some hot topics coming up. The mayor race for Tallahassee, I promise you, it just got interesting. Fathers, Stecker, meet us here, 7 a.m. It's donuts and dads. Gadsden High School. Be blessed. I'll see you next week.
You got a partner in me. I'm here, so I just